Hi guys, so today is my second check-in for my Pan 18 in 2018 project. So if you've missed my sort of starting video or my first check-in, I will link those down below. I'm a little later than a lot of other YouTubers on these kinds of check-ins because I didn't really actually start this project until, gosh, end of January, almost beginning of February. So I want to do sort of 3-month check-ins. Technically, I probably should have done my most recent check-in at the beginning of August, so I'm a little behind in that respect as well. But I do want to make sure that I'm giving you guys kind of quarterly updates on the products that I've picked and how successful I've been at panning them. Before we get in too far though, I did want to call out I am playing with the new Emily Noel, the Wants palette. This thing is freaking enormous. So I figured I would tell you real quickly what's on my eyes because I've really been enjoying this palette so far. I used Laugh Cry in the inner part of my eye, faded it into Love Tons, then faded it a little further out in the outer corner into Cheer, which is more of a rusty red, and then deepened it up slightly with Family, this beautiful plum here. And then I ran some of this underneath my lower lash line, put Oh Heavens in my inner corner and under my brow bone, and I think, oh yeah, I used a little bit of Midwest to kind of blend out the edges above my crease in my transition area. So really having a lot of fun with this palette. It is really impressing me, both the quality and then just the fun things that I think I'm going to be able to make with this look. So not the point of today's video. Let's talk about my panning project. Like my last video, I'm going to go through and kind of show you these products as I've applied them. I still really am enjoying all of these products too. I did want to call that out, but I am excited to say I have finished this primer. This is the number 50 Serum Primer from His Cosmetics. I've actually been opening this up and trying to like scrape out anything that's in here using the pump in there. I feel like I've gotten out every possible iota of product that I can, so I'm happy to announce that I have finished this guy up. I do think I will probably try and use up a few more primers in my drawer, at least make a dent on them before I go into my backup of this, but I do love this primer. It has been one of my favorites, so happy to have gotten through this guy. I also had 3 foundations that I was trying to get through this year, so maybe a little ambitious, but I think I'm making really good progress on them. I have used up this in terms of being able to pump any of this out, so now when I'm hitting the pump on here, nothing else is coming out on my hand. I am probably going to find a way to crack into this a little bit because from what you guys have said, there's probably a little bit more that I can get out if I cut this at this point. There's probably a couple more applications in here, but I have used up my It Cosmetics CC Plus cream. This is just the original formula in the shade Fair, and I love this one. This is also one that I have a backup of that I purchased in a sale, so I definitely wanted to get through this so that I was not keeping products too far past their expiration date. So up next is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation. I am in the shade 117 or Y225. I forget which is the correct nomenclature now. I think it's Y225. So I've made a decent dent on this. I've used up a decent amount from my last check-in, but this is just the product that will not die. I feel like I have traveled with this and I use it a ton. It's actually what's on my face today. I love the effect of it. It doesn't feel like it's gone bad on me yet, but it just is going strong. So at this point, I'm going to be hopeful to use this up by the end of the year. I was hoping after my last check-in that I would come on here and I would have used it up completely, but that is just not the case. And this is a product that I've been deliberately packing and traveling with as my only foundation because it doesn't count as a liquid. So I'm just continually surprised by how long these last. It's interesting. Stick foundations have a lot less product in them. So there's only 0.44 ounces in here versus the standard, 1 fluid ounce that you get in a lot of liquid foundations. But holy crap, I just feel like this one is going and going. So I'm still confident I can use this up by the end of the year, but hey, once again, phenomenal stick foundation. Really, really enjoying it. My last foundation is my Urban Decay Naked Skin. I have very little left in here. I think when we talked before, it was kind of up to the end. I have maybe a 1/4 inch left down in this guy. I do feel like this one might be starting to go off a little bit. I just feel like the last several times I've used it, it's not blending into my skin as well as it used to. So I don't know if maybe I just did a poor job of shaking this up throughout. There is kind of these like little metal balls in ball bearings kind of in here to help shake the foundation and mix it up. And maybe it's just to the point where what's at the bottom of my bottle is more pigment or more mixing medium. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely noticed that this one isn't looking as good on my skin as it did, you know, 3 or 4 months ago even. So I'm going to attempt to continue to use this up, but it's not looking the greatest on my skin right now. That might be to the shaking, like I mentioned. It might also be that this is just a pretty old foundation in my collection, so it may just finally be going off. It's not causing me to break out and it's not smelling funny, so I don't feel like my skin is in danger from continuing using it. I just feel like it's not quite the formula that I know and love anymore. As far as my concealer pick goes, this is the Milani Retouch and Erase. I do feel like I've made a pretty good dent in this. It's hard for me to film how much I've used up because it's hard to see, but I definitely can squeeze down a lot farther than I used to. Part of that, I think, is that this shade is matching me a lot better. I have gotten a tinge of a tan, like this is me tan. Let's just acknowledge that. But I've gotten a little bit more tan through the summer months here, just being outside, even with SPF 50 on every single day. And so this shade, which I think I complained about in my last update, which was feeling a little dark for my skin tone, has actually been a really good match. So I've been taking advantage of the fact that this is working as an under eye concealer for me, and I've really made a point to use this in a way I was struggling a little bit for that first check-in. I'm going to continue to power through this because I also feel like by the time we get into sort of late fall and into winter months, that I may start to have the problem where this is not the best shade match for me again. So I'm going to see what I can get through with this. This one I feel like I stand a good chance of getting through by the end of the year. Next up, my powder. So this is also from Milani. This is the Prep+Set+Glow powder. I have made a massive divot on this guy. I think I was panning this last time, but now I have a huge pan and I'm definitely having to swirl my brush around the outside to pick up powder evenly and just make sure that I am getting an even amount on my brush because I do have such a large pan here in the middle. This continues to just be a lovely, lovely setting powder. It gives a very light, slight satiny feel to the skin, not drying, not cakey. One of the most beautiful setting powders that I have in my collection. So this is one that once I use up, I think I mentioned this last time, I am going to go purchase a new one because I just don't want to be without this powder in my collection. So feeling good about my chances of getting through this completely by the end of the year. Let's talk brow product. So I was hoping to be able to report to you guys that I had completely used up my Universal Brow Power in from IT Cosmetics, but unfortunately I still have a tiny little nub left. This is another one of those products that is just going strong. I'm definitely using it. I'm using it up. So I do feel like based on how I've been using up this product, I will go through this before my next check-in. I kind of was thinking I might be able to get through 2 of these in a year. That is just not the case, and I think it has a lot to do with how I fill in my brows and the fact that I'm not going real heavy in with a brow pencil. I'm just using it lightly to fill in sparse areas. But it's definitely been pretty much the only brow product I've been reaching for, unless I've been testing something for review purposes. Definitely will get through this, not worried about that. Just kind of felt if you'd asked me at the beginning of the year, by this point I would be done with it. So there you go. For the next 4 products, these were all face products that my goal was to hit pan on. So I wasn't sure, in fact, I was 99% sure I was not going to be able to use them up like foundations or like my setting powders. These are products that I really wanted to see if I could see pan on by the end of the year. So let me give you some updates on those face products. The first one is my e.l.f. blush in Mellow Mauve. I definitely have a lot more pan showing on this one. I hit pan in my last video. I've continued to reach for this. This whole corner section is definitely wearing down quite a bit now, and I'm seeing a lot more of that pan there. So I kind of am curious at this point how big of a pan it will be by the end of the year, but I did kind of hit my own internal goal of seeing pan on this blush by the end of the year. So we'll continue to use this. Like I said, curious how this one is going to look by the end of the year, but I do think I was smart in picking a blush shade like this that was very neutrally, because it works with every single eye makeup look that I can come up with. Definitely will always have a compact of Mellow Mauve in my collection. This doggone butter bronzer. I just really thought I would not have this much issue starting to go through this bronzer. I feel like I use a lot of bronzer. It goes dusted around the outside of my face. I always put it down my neck. Like, I feel like I use a lot of bronzer. Like, maybe not as much as a finishing powder, but still a good amount of bronzer every single day. So, you know, it's funny, after I talked about this butter bronzer in my last update video, a couple of you guys said you've been trying to pan this thing for 2 years. So at this point, I don't have a lot of confidence that I'm actually going to pan this. I feel like I look at this and I looked at my last pictures and I feel like I can see that there is more of a depression. I've worn off more of the sort of wave pattern that's there. But even though I'm deliberately concentrating my brush in the middle of this pan, I still feel like there's a ton of bronzer in here. So I will admit, based on your comments and what I'm seeing here, I'm starting to lose hope that I'm going to actually pan this thing and see any pan by the end of the year, but we're going to try, we're going to rally, we're going to really use the heck out of this thing, and we'll see what happens. Highlighter. So this is the CoverFX highlighter in Moonlight. I really have used the heck out of this. This is really hard for me to capture. I tried holding it at like 10 different angles when I was doing close-up shots, and I could not get an angle that really showed you guys the divot that I can see while looking at this pan right now. So there is definitely a clear divot in the bottom of this pan. I have been using and concentrating my brush right there in the middle. I really love this highlight for day-to-day use. This is the only highlighter I have traveled with this year. It is perfect for work and it is phenomenal for more casual situations too. So yeah, I'm hopeful I might be able to get a pan on this by the end of the year. If you had asked me at the beginning of the year, I would have said I was more likely to pan a butter bronzer than a highlighter, just based on the amount of product I use. And you know, you're just dusting this in concentrated areas on your face, whereas this goes all over. But that just is not the case. So I do feel like I stand a chance of getting through this. I don't think I'm going to see pan until probably the very end of the year, so I'm not anticipating seeing pan by the next check-in, but I am hoping by the next check-in this little divot that I am clearly seeing in the center of this will be easier to film so you guys can see kind of the depression and the amount of product I've worked through. Up next, my little e.l.f. bronzer and blush cream product. I am really stinking close to hitting pan on the bronzer. If you guys recall, my goal was to try and pan this bronzer. I knew I was not going to pan this blush. I just don't use this blush every time I use this palette, and then once again I'm using more of the bronzer than I am of the blush, but I do feel like I am seeing the outline of the pan now when I look at this product. You can kind of see the ridges of the pan creeping through, so I do feel like with a few more months of use I will get to the pan on this. I will admit that I have not used this potentially as much as I should have this summer, considering it does work so well as sort of a lock-in-place cream bronzer for summer. So I probably need to rally on this and really try and use this for like 2 weeks straight and use nothing else, because then I think we will have clear pan and we will use a huge chunk of this up. But I at least feel like this one is still achievable. This Wet n Wild Mega Glow Cushion Highlighter, I continue to use this. I do feel like it is more dried out than it was when I talked to you last time, rather. I'm really having to press my finger in here really hard, and I'm just not getting as much product out as I used to when I did this. So I do feel like this is a product I will probably not be able to really use by the time I get to my next check-in. I have also used this quite frequently in combination with this CoverFX highlighter, so I've kind of paired them together. It gives a really pretty look to the skin. And then this is also what I've been wearing on days where I was just doing light makeup or no makeup. So I have used this quite a bit. It's just hard for me to gauge other than kind of touching it and feeling it and trying to remember and watch where I was before. So I do feel like I'm making progress, and I don't think this is going to make it to the end of the year. All right, let's talk about the one eyeshadow product I have in my panning project. It is from ColourPop. It's their Super Shock Shadow in Waddles. I hit pan on this last time, and I feel like I have a much bigger pan to report this go round than last time, so I'm definitely using this up. I continue to love this shade as kind of my go-to when I just don't want to think about what I want to put on my eyes. I want something really natural and really pretty. I just buff this all over up through my crease and call it a day. So absolutely stunning shade. Continue to love it. Definitely think I'm going to use up the majority of this product by the end of the year, and then I will be looking for either a ColourPop sale or some other reason on ColourPop that I want to order something to pick up a replacement, because this is a shadow I'm just always going to want in my collection, and I know that. All right, let's talk lip products. One that I think I've made really good progress on is my Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk. I've definitely used up a lot of this product. I feel like I could rally and really use this as my everyday liner and color for a couple of weeks and plow through this, but it is definitely a lot shorter than it was at my last check-in, so I do feel like this one I am making progress with. There is one product that I completely forgot to mention in my last check-in, and I didn't realize it until probably a couple weeks after posting that video, and I went, wait a minute, I didn't talk about that lip gloss. So one of the things in my pan that wasn't in my last update is my Marc Jacobs lip gloss in French Tickler. And I've actually made a huge divot in here. I feel like I've only got maybe a little bit left down in the bottom of this container. So I really don't see myself having any issue finishing this up by the end of the year. In fact, one of my favorite combos has been to put this Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lip liner all over my lips and then put this gloss over the top. It's been one of my favorite go-to nude lip looks. So I'm definitely going to continue to plow through these two. Where we had a little bit of trouble was with my MAC lipstick in Blankety because I thought I lost it. So I was trying to use it on a regular basis. I had put it in a travel work bag and I thought it had fallen out. So I got home from a trip, I looked everywhere for it and I thought, well, shoot, it fell out at some point. I can't find it. It's just gone. So unfortunately that happened, gosh, pretty early on after my last check-in. I said in that check-in, I really had to rally on the shade Blankety from MAC because I was just not making a ton of progress on this shade. So I was like, all right, we're going to put it in my work bag. We're going to keep it in my purse. We're going to keep it with me all the time. And anytime I look in the mirror and I feel like I need lip color, let's just plop this on. So then after about a week, that's when I thought I lost it. So I was digging and digging and digging, never could find the darn thing. And then of course, about 2 weeks ago, I was emptying out my work bag, trying to reorganize everything. And then in a little tiny zipper pouch where I completely forgot was even part of my work bag, lo and behold, what stumbles out. So I've made almost zero progress on this thing compared to last time. I thought I was going to come on here and tell you guys that I had lost it and that this is just kind of a major fail on my part. So I do need to do what I said I was going to do last time, make a point to use it on a regular basis, travel with it, make it my primary lipstick or something that I'm pairing with another one of my panning lipsticks. But unfortunately, there was probably a 3-month time frame where I wasn't even looking at this, wasn't even touching it. So I feel like I've really kind of screwed myself when it comes to getting through this lipstick by the end of the year, but we will see. And then last product was another lip product. This is the Catrice Lip Cushion in Better Make Mauve. This one I feel like is pretty much done. I can still twist it and I'm getting a little bit of clicking, but I'm not really seeing a ton of product coming out of this one. So I still feel like there's a little bit of product in the sponge that I'm going to try and use up on kind of everyday makeup looks, but I kind of feel like this one is gone at this point. This is unfortunately a product where I can't really show you guys progress. I've really been having to gauge how far am I into this by how resistant the twist is. Has the spring is the spring as twisted up as I think it can get rather for this lip product, but I would say this one is just about done. Alright guys, so that is everything for my second Project Pan update. I'm still feeling pretty good about these products. Like I mentioned, I really enjoy all of these products, and I think for me, for future panning projects, that's going to have to be key because I'm reaching for these products on such a regular basis. I really want to enjoy them. I still want to be able to look into this drawer 6 months in and be like, yes, even though I've used that highlighter 50 times this year, I still am excited to reach for it and love it. For me personally, I think that is going to be the key to panning projects, things that are very versatile and things that I just don't get sick of. But I do feel like I have made really good progress through the products that I have selected for this year, so I'm feeling confident in my selections and my choices and things that we can get through by the end of the year, with a few obvious exceptions. If you guys are personally doing any panning projects on YouTube or Instagram or even just personally at home, let us know how it's going for you. I'm curious, are there products that you've had no issues getting rid of and using up, or are there ones that you are really struggling with? Like for me personally, the butter bronzer. Would love to know how your personal projects are going. I look forward to talking to you guys here soon in my next few videos. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.